Professor Weston, we've seen in the marketplace many successful mergers as well as some spectacular failures. What are some of the keys towards forecasting what might be a successful merger? What can managers do ahead of time to try and make sure that a merger might succeed? And what are some of the pitfalls that they might see and signal mergers to avoid?
Very good. In general, there are good mergers and bad mergers. A good merger is one in which a firm is well managed. It has in place some strong core capabilities, and it uses mergers to round these out, to extend technological capability, to extend markets, to extend products, but all related and all extending where they're already strong, things that they're good at. Bad mergers are when a firm is in a good industry but isn't doing well and looks to other industries then and says, hey, the grass is greener in this different industry. I'll buy a company in that industry. Well, it's predictable. If they couldn't manage in the industry in which they had experience and initially had the right capabilities, going to a new industry that they really don't know and doesn't enhance what they're already doing, you can be pretty sure that that's going to be a failure.
In the 60s and the 70s, we saw a lot of conglomerate mergers, and those are much less common nowadays. Is a company like General Electric, who diversifies horizontally outside their core area expertise, is that really a rarity?
It is really. You can't generalize from the GE example. On the other hand, GE shows what you can do, even though they started with being in diverse activities. But what GE was really very, very good at was developing managers. They spent a lot of time developing good managers, and one of the things that Welch did was they evaluated managers every year, and they'd put them into three groups. Group A, top 20%, real comers. 70%, they probably would never have a chance at becoming an area chair or chief executive officer, but the business runs on that. The bottom 20% just aren't going to make it at GE and leave the company within here. That was backed up by quite a bit of management training. And the third thing that really made it work was Welch interacted. He had group meetings with his top managers, and they did tough hand wrestling on the key issues facing the area of that manager, so that from the give and take, it was clear to everybody whether the manager knew what he was doing or not. But they trained good managers so that the fellow who at one point managed the light bulb business, when they bought RCA and got the NBC stations, he was put in charge of it, and he managed it magnificently. He was able to recognize good people, and he hired them to do the operations.
So you're saying that quality of management is one of the important things towards pulling off a successful merger. One of your colleagues...
But that's also true for a firm that isn't doing mergers as well. if they're trying to expand internally.
That's true. One of your colleagues here at UCLA, Professor Richard Roll, has put forth the hubris hypothesis for takeovers, which faults poor management for bad mergers. He seems to think managers are overconfident and overestimate their abilities to extract values from mergers. Do you see that in the marketplace?
Professor Roll and I have had long discussions on that. The hubris theory is really the winner's curse theory.
Right.
And hubris is one of the reasons that firms overbid. In general, the winner's curse theory is the most optimistic estimator wins the bid, and he pays too much. You see some of that, but if you go back to the earlier data, on balance, mergers add value. So the winner's curse is that the acquirers gain somewhat less and the acquired gain somewhat more.